pray, Lord, that you will lead us, direct us in everything that we say or do here. We give you all the glory, all the honor, and all the praise. All right, welcome to this presentation that we are offering. My brother here and my pastor here asked us, we are accountants based in Southwest, a little bit distance from the Midlands. Ask us to prepare and deliver something to you. Within the space of time, we did our best, did the research to put down, but being accountants never leave their profession. So whatever we do and present is within the scope of we being an accountant. Exactly. We are accountants with a difference. We have a number of churches that we assist them in various matters. Assist them in setting up for the first time, assist them in running the church, assist them in having a system to manage the massive amount of data that is being generated in the church, assist them with the managing the finances, finance report. We then go, as the churches keep growing, we move from assisting them now to buy a business, or maybe a church will want to buy a building. Exactly. They will want to open a nursery. They will want to buy a care home. We assist them with all the documentation part that they need an accountant to assist them. So my prayer is, at least within that introductory, we will be able to assist some of us here to do these things. But yes, the churches within the sector of charismatic churches that are originating from Africa are growing massively in the UK. You know, we all came here, they are established churches already. You know, Church of England have huge investments. You see them, as you see them, they have huge investments, you know, in some of the houses. They have houses, they have for rent, they have places. So we are praying that, yes, we will all be there with time. So myself, my name is Al Hassan Bangura. I come from a Muslim background, but I'm a Christian with my own family. I'm married with my wife in Bristol with 5 children. Correct. Yes. The way you say it sounds like you're familiar with the Bangura name, is it? Right. Where are you from, sir?
I'm from Nigeria.
All right. Okay, we're all the same. Where I'm from, Syrian. With me here is Sufyan. Sufyan is from Nigeria. Yeah. All right. Yes. Sufyan prepared the work, the presentation. I am the director of AL Accounting Solutions, and we do a lot with churches. So we are praying that. So Sufyan is going to take us through the presentation, and what we will do is for the presentation to run, and then we can then discuss issues, questions that you have. All right? All right, so I'll hand you over to Sufyan.
Thank you. We only come for Jesus. I'm Sufyan Isufu, that's my name. I will try to take you through the presentation. I think I should move to the corner so that we can see, because I will be blocking somewhere. Maybe somewhere here, but I'll be out of the camera. I hope it's okay.
That's fine, no problem.
All right, thank you. Please, the next slide. Yes, we'll just begin here. For charities, it's quite important that we begin with some kind of legal structure, because if you don't, we run this risk where someone somewhere is operating with your name, you don't know who they are, they don't attend your meetings like we're having today. So it's important that there is that oversight and there's that control, and you are aware of what is going on. That's why it's important that you operate not under the radar, but you bring things to the limelight so that it's people can see, and there's some control, there's advice from senior elders of the church and things like that. And for you to do that, there are basically two structures, especially when you are opening a new charity for the first time. The two structures are there. The first one is a company limited by guarantee, and then the second one is what they call a charitable incorporated organization. The CIO only started a couple of years ago because the Charity Commission saw it was a good model for new charities to start up with. Next slide, please. Right, for a company limited by guarantee, you have a couple of requirements, and for a CIO, you also have a couple of requirements. I will start with a company limited by guarantee. For this one, you need to have at least 3 trustees, you need a charitable purpose, and you need a governing document. For the charitable purpose, these days, it used to be quite straightforward before, but these days, because of the terrorism and the Charity Commission is not sure where people are sending money to and where you are getting your funding from, they've become a little bit strict. So when you send them your charitable purpose, they will read it and they will ask you questions. So it's important that you get some advice when you want to write that, because they are very strict now, because trying to control the flow of money. And then you need the governing document as well. They are also strict on the governing document. People, you can prepare your own, but they always have certain things they want to see, how many people are going to make a quorum in the meeting. Like we have the problem we have in Africa, in Nigeria, where I come from as well, where people don't turn up. So you have to set a limit. If you don't have a quorum, then the meeting can't go on. So things like that, they are quite strict on them. And the structure also requires you register with Companies House as well as Charity Commission. That's for the company limited by guarantee. So you have a double return thing, where you file to Charity Commission and then you file to Companies House as well. And then you need proof of income of over £5,000. Most times they want to see a bank account, or they want somebody to write a letter saying they are going to donate money over £5,000 to the charity. Some charities tend to struggle with that, because how do you open a bank account when you are not registered as a charity? Some banks will open what they call a community account for you when you're not registered, but for them to see that you have the money. But sometimes they are reluctant. It just depends on the bank and who you meet. Next slide, please. For a CIO, it's a little bit more straightforward. Although it requires the same 3 trustees, it still requires a charitable purpose and a governing document. The structure only requires registration with Charity Commission, which is a bit easier. The returns as well are submitted to only Charity Commission, which is easier, and they don't ask you to prove that you have over £5,000. So the requirement to look for a community account or those kind of things is gone. So it's a little bit more straightforward than the other one. Next slide, please. Now we go to the next one, which is some of the opportunities that are available to charities and churches, especially in this context. Firstly, for you to take advantage of these opportunities, it's important there's a legal structure. If there is no registered charity, it is difficult for any organization, any local authority to give you funding, because I mean they can't hold anybody to account. So it's difficult for them. So it's important that there's a structure. And the first thing that's available is grants. There are grants from various organizations. There are grants from the local council. For example, if some churches purchase buildings, and if you purchase an industrial building and you want to maybe convert it to a church, maybe in an industrial area, if you want to do that, because industrial buildings, they have special rates they pay, but a charity shouldn't pay those rates. So you have to liaise with the council and get some exceptions on that. As well, universities can give charities money too, but they always give to run specific events. They always give for specific purposes. That's why it's good if you're running an event to make yourself visible and to make sure that the benefits are identifiable. It makes it easier for even any organization that has corporate social responsibility in their as part of their policy. as long as what you are planning to do fits within their CRS policy, you can ask them for funding. But you have to be registered to do that. Now, most churches do this as well, but I will still say it again. If you have groups, youth groups, women groups, men's group, it helps because the men's group will run something that is focused on some area, and you can get funding for that particular event. The women's group can run something for women, and you can get something for that particular event as well. And as I said on the last point, you should run community-based activities that make them the benefits visible and identifiable. You can print T-shirts, Omega Fire Ministry, men's group, different kind of. You just be visible. People see you, they know what you are doing. It all helps because when people give grants, they want to also be able to say, yeah, that we sponsored that event. Next slide, please. Programs that are beneficial to the general public, such as, like, there's a lot of this knife crime going on in urban areas. You can have some kind of event, prayer meeting, slash, even if it's a prayer meeting, as long as somebody comes and gives a talk about his own experience or her own experience, targeting such kind of issues, there are lots of people who will want to donate to that kind of thing. A lot of, I'm sure, government organizations will even be interested because you are actually giving a service that is going to help the public services. If less knife crime, less NHS costs, less police costs, everybody is going to be totally beneficial. There are also grants available from local authorities to open nurseries. This one I know in Bristol they do that, but I don't know if it operates everywhere else, but Bristol sometimes they help. And then obviously gift aid, but if you are not a registered charity, you might be able to get into it, but they will be very strict on it. You will receive an extra 25p for every pound of taxpayer donation. And then there is also something called Minister of Religion tax returns. If you are a Minister of Religion and you do tax returns, a lot of your income is allowable not to be taxed. There is a good portion of your income that you get that is not subject to tax. And this is after you get your personal allowance, but you have to have PAY, some form of PAY. You have to be on pay as you earn. You will still get your personal allowance, and then a lot of the other income you get based on your Minister of Religion position is not subject to tax. It's tax exempt. Next slide, please. This one now, we deal with some of the core services that we provide. We do charity registration, we prepare charity annual accounts in line with Charity Commission guidelines. And the guidelines is quite important to use somebody who is aware of this because they change them. They are getting stricter because a lot of churches, if you read the news, they intervene in some churches in London, trustees not managing the money properly. And as I said before, this terrorism issue, so they are trying to look at charities and make sure that the trustees are aware of their responsibility. So it's important. For example, there's a question they didn't used to ask before, but they ask it now. There's a question they ask you now when you're filing your returns is, how much money did you receive from abroad? Did the charity send any money abroad? If you answer yes, the next question is, how did you send the money? Did you use a bank? Did you use Western Union, or did you just dash them cash? They want to know because they want you to use the established banking system. If you don't use it, then more questions. And then we have independent examiners review, which gives you account credibility, signed by certified accountants who spoke to you earlier. And then we also submit charity annual accounts. Then we do the Minister of Religion accounts as well, like I said before, so that you can get those benefits that are available. Next slide, please. Other services we do as well. We present in trustees meetings. For example, as we're doing today, different things we present. We do trustees training because Charity Commission is coming down on the trustees because you are responsible for what the charity does. You are the trustee. And we process gift aid, we develop operational plans. Like I was saying, some churches want to acquire properties, you want to acquire a place of worship for your own. We do all those kind of things because the bank will ask for them. If you want to even get a grant, they will ask for some kind of brief, and then we prepare all those briefs as well. We do company registration for people who want to open companies. Some charities also have limited companies that they run for various purposes. So we do that. We write and deliver finance control policy manual, which is also one of the new requirements of Charity Commission. It started a couple of years ago. Every charity must have a finance control manual, which they review every year. We do that as well. We do payroll systems. Next slide, please. And then we have a system we developed, which we call Churches. It helps to manage all this data, puts it in a central pot, easy for anybody to run the report. If the pastor wants to report to see something, he just clicks the button and then all the report comes out. It makes all the gift aid and financial reporting requirements easier. And it helps you to keep in touch with your members as well and to record events in the church. So those are the things we do, and those are some of the opportunities that are available to charities. Thank you very much for your time for listening, and I hope it was helpful.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Sophia. Yeah. So effectively, what we have just done is to let you know really what we stand for. But we know you will have questions. But before we start asking questions, I just want to mention one or two things about the presentation. Where is the? Can you go to the first slide? Just one or two things. Okay, next slide. All right, here. Now, I just want to mention though that these two company limited by and charitable incorporation organizations are the basic options before that you can opt for before you register a charity. All right. Now we know these are two preamble that you can opt for if you feel you're not able to register a charity right away. But you want to get a status. In other words, it's always, as is mentioned, it's always good to get a status and not just have the church open into one building here, you keep going. So long as you know that church is turning over something over 5,000 in a year, which I guess even the smallest unit will be, is to legalize in these two formats. And then you can then upgrade later to a charity, to full charity status. All right, that's one. I just want you to know that it is not when you are a company limited by guarantee. Yes, you have a status, you run, you can pay people salary formally. You can. Now, the next thing I want to say is the next slide. Next. Right, it talked about creating groups in terms of attracting specific funding, because most of the funding will not be brand. It mentioned these groups. Now, some of the churches who have do register these groups as well, allow them to be an entity in their own right. You know, for instance, you will have your men's, yes, but then it's grown to a point you could put them as a CIO in their own right. The youth could be an organization in their own right. It could be Omega Wolverhampton Youth. That's a name. You put that in as a CIO. In other words, that one has its own reports that he would create, get its own funding, and then it would then contribute. Obviously, you know, it is managed there. You have people managing it, the youth managing it themselves. So it's just really encouraging that. And then let's go to the next slide. Now, the Minister of Religion, again, I'll just mention that again, that there is a service benefit cap. Now, it come about that they have this incentive for ministers of religion. The Church of England vicars would be paid a salary. Most times they give them, in the past or even in the present, they give them a place, they take care of the house for them, and then they give them a salary, which is not a lot of money. So that model means if they combine all what they are doing, they may be getting a salary of 40,000. The house they've given them, they live there, they pay their bills for them. Now when we come to our own churches, we may say, okay, the pastor, do we give him that 40,000? If you put that in the payroll, that's a lot of tax for you. So what you could use this for is to set up a similar structure where you can pay the pastor 12,000, 15,000, but then the money that you give the pastor to pay his mortgage or pay his rent, pay his traveling, pay his other expenses would be combined under this minister of religions in the same way, where you have a less tax burden compared to if you just keep increasing the pastor's salary as a way of meeting the pastor's own cost. I'm talking about, sometimes also pastors want to get something to show that they are earning 40,000 because they may want to go for mortgage. But then the church cannot afford to give them 40,000. The church cannot afford to pay them a salary of 15,000 because of the tax burden. But then the other benefit the pastor is getting from the church is not quantified at all. And this is a way of quantifying it, raising the profile or the income of the pastor, which puts him in a better position as well. That's just my addition to what he has said. All right? So now we open to questions, and I know maybe you have a specific area that you want us to answer before. Yeah? All right, so the floor is open to question, Mike.
Thank you. It's very generic here. Some of the leading questions. I would say this is number one. As a pastor, working with young people and adults, how can I attract other fundings? You just mentioned some of them. Mm-hmm. No doubt about that. Is there any other one? But if there's not, I could go to the second question.
All right. I mean, in terms of funding, yes, we've looked at really all the possibilities there. I mean, one thing that keeps coming to mind is the issue about whether there is any grant or entrepreneurial grant for Commonwealth. I keep saying that. Now, this Commonwealth funding is all geared towards the Commonwealth countries, mainly the countries that are really below the level of below the first world or highly rich countries. So they have these grants to encourage entrepreneurs. So this is not within your remit here in the UK. Here in the UK, it's what the funding is available is to the UK issues, which are always youth, whether it's youth, women, or vulnerable adults like old people, and so the funding arrangements in terms of businesses, there are grants, like we mentioned here, like if you're doing certain specific thing for your church, like a nursery, you can attract grants if you're undertaking the thing. Yeah. But there is nothing we could find that is targeting Commonwealth within or inside the UK. All right? Yeah.
Please, can you just talk a little bit about gift aids?
All right.
Yeah, I just want a better understanding about gift aids.
Now, Sophia can come in at any time. The gift aid is one when you're a charity or when you're an organization that receives money, which is a donation from people, because that's how the tithes and offering fall under. It's people voluntarily giving for it. Now, if these people are taxpayers that are giving you, and you register yourself, your organization, with the Revenue and Customs, HM Revenue and Customs, they are the one that administer that. you will also be given what is called an HMRC reference number. Now, when you get that number, so that is different from the organization number. So we say the preamble gets an organization number, one of those formats, or you get the main one, which is a charity number. You don't register with HMRC that you're receiving voluntary donations for good purpose. I mean, one of them, we thank God for this nation, is Christianity. In other words, propagating the gospel in this nation is considered a charity, and as well as other religions as well. So long as it's for humankind, and we are able to prove that, HMRC is going to give you a reference number so that if anybody donates, we collate the donations within a specific period and tell HMRC that we've received these donations. They have a specific way you do it. It will total up the donations and then calculate what is called a tax back claim. Because the idea is these people that are giving you have paid tax. Alright? That is why most times, strictly, which most will ignore, but it's really those that should sign the declaration that they want you to claim that tax back is from the taxes they have paid. So the HMRC will take from the taxes they have paid, from every £1 they are giving, because that money they are giving to you is already, they've paid tax. You know, if your giver is earning 2,000, he's paid 500 tax, he has 1,500 left in his pocket, and from that 1,500 he has already paid, and he come and give you £20 there, or give you £100 there, he's already paid tax on that money. You see, where somebody have £50,000 and I haven't paid tax on it, and then he come and give again, that's where, you know, the system is a little bit weak they don't detect that. But yes, the idea is if everybody giving from the church is coming from their net salary, then the church can get some of the tax, that 500 tax they've paid, the church can claim some of it. So yes, the church can then claim £1 for every 25 pence for every £1 they give.
So that means the church has to have like a special way of recording people.
Correct. Correct. We mention systems, but even the basic Excel spreadsheet of who is giving every Sunday, you do need to get them to write their name. There is a form also they need to sign to say you can claim gifted. There is a declaration form. You just don't claim it. So you as the church have to register first for it, and then you give them that form. So you see, we can help you go through all that whole process and give you the form that they will sign. You keep that if they need that, and then every Sunday, yes, there has to be a collection register where you capture their name. So you give them envelopes. When they are giving, they write their name. Now, some people will not write their name, but if those people that are really paying taxes, they will write their name. Because if they love the church and they know they are paying taxes, they will write their name. You know, you just that, yes, not everybody is paying taxes. Some people are really maybe on benefit, but they have money to give. They will give, but then they wouldn't write their name. But yes, I mean, for instance, we are processing one church. Now we're just about to send it. It's about 24,000.
How long?
Gifted. They're going to get.
For how long? How long is that, if I may ask? 24,000.
You do it every year. You total up the donations. So long as when it goes with the names and addresses. You have to get a proper address for every one of your donor, and when they change address, you have to keep updating it. So yes, I mean, like they will get 24,000. There are churches that get, you know, every quarter. You know, some do it every month. But yes, it's a substantial amount of money that can come for your investment purposes. You know, come to do things that you want to do, and it's saving a lot of them the gifted. I mean, we don't know how long it will go for, but it's been going on. But because of it's been benefiting, no, because it's still benefiting the main mainstream churches like the Catholic churches, it will continue to go. Because if they try to take it off the house of the Lord, which is originally led by these clergymen, will not. So the gifted is here to stay for now. They've tried to, but it's still there. And also other charities are benefiting from it. So any church here that is not registered, that is not claiming it, is just losing out. You know, your members continue to give and you only dependent on that. It's to make the steps and then that will grow the church.
Just go.
I just want to ask, what is the implication on members in terms of, I know you might, them giving their names and giving their addresses and contributing. Depending, some might be generous, such that when you look at it, their wages might be maybe £10, what they're giving to church is about £5 or £4. How will it affect them? Is there any implication on members, depending on how much or how less they give?
Yes, I just mentioned that, yes, that some people are not paying taxes, but they can give.
Pay tax.
Yes, those are pay tax. You say the implication.
Is there any implication on people that pay tax if they declare that you can claim gift aid?
No, there is no implication. As I say, most people that are afraid of doing it is either one, they have income that is not being declared somewhere.
That's right.
Yeah. So they feel, because obviously when the gifted is sent, it goes with their name and address. Now, but again, I can imagine that just in a month, they get millions of gifted claims. So if I've been in this job for like 10, 15 years. They've never audited gifted yet, according to what I know about. Now, I believe, yes, the idea is they keep this record, and if that church comes into limelight, all right, say by virtue of misbehavior somewhere, and they want to go and start looking into that, they may say, all right, the church is claiming gifted for people who are not givers. Now, if a specific person is in trouble, they are investigating him, then maybe they may go and look at his own record and see that he's giving to charity. So that has nothing to do with the church. So people tend to that's a fact. That people tend to not want to write their name. Now, also some spiritually they don't want to do it because it's their belief that what the left hand is doing, the right hand should not know. This kind of scriptures.
That's right.
So they do just want to write their name, and we do that. But Charity Commission or this HM Revenue and Custom do have a slot there for some people that don't write their name. You can also claim some gifted for them. You see, that was introduced recently. But yes, you can never stop that. But also that should not hinder you to launch it. You have to keep launching it. You have to appeal to them, convince them, and maybe one day they will give up and do it. But there is no worry about it. I haven't heard, even all the churches that have been in trouble before, we haven't heard that there is a reason or there is a problem coming about from the gifted side. The problem always comes from the other things that the churches will be doing, not from the gifted. All right?
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean there is no problem there. Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah?
Yeah, I just want you to throw more light on the 2 tiers of registrations, company house and the upgrade from company house to the charity. What are the financial implications on the part of those who want to operate?
Yeah.
The registrations.
All right. Can we go back, please, on the slide? Yeah. Is Madam with us? Yeah. Good. One more. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Right. Just to say that instead of opening a charity, now the good thing with the charity is the Charity Commission accept your report and account. Companies House Also, they have stringent rules. They will need you to submit account every time. All right, but there is no taxes really that is involved in those accounts. But you have that commitment to produce an account. Now, if you're not registered as an entity, that losing that commitment to produce account will not make you grow. I'm telling you, even though you look comfortable, you know. But when you have to produce account, it makes you see how the organization is growing. It makes you see how the church is moving ahead. Now, your question is it you are asking about the tax?
No, I'm not asking about the tax. I'm asking about the transitions between registrations with the
As a
house.
charity
And then
charity organization
yes.
and company's house.
Yes,
The 2 tier.
the 2 tiers, you know, company house and then charity organizations. Now, if you have registered with charity, company house, what are the process of upgrading from company house?
It's a direct process, though. I mean, as I said, the conditions of registering a charity is that you have to show that there is income of over 5,000, and then you produce all the documents.
So you don't need the fiscal finance.
No, you need the bank statement.
You need the bank statement.
You need the bank statement to show. And so if you have you're not going to put your own bank account, because you know some pastors will open a church and put the money in their own bank account. So what would happen is, in that case, when they want to register, there's nothing to show. So the easiest route is going one of these two, open a bank account, register, and then as soon as you have something to show, you then register for charity. That's why we do have some charities that were ex-companies, but they retain both. In other words, they are both companies and charity.
What are the implications of that?
You just have 2 sets of reports to produce, that's all. But there is no cost.
At what cost?
It's not a major cost, though. I mean, in terms of, we have some churches that are both charity and companies, but again, the advantage is sometimes, yes, they need the company, you know, so if they go somewhere for certain things, they say, oh, it's not, we don't deal with charities. Some grants don't deal with charities. Then you have the company there to show. But the company is not a private company, though. It's a limited by guarantees of the members of the company. Now, as I said, the step is not blurry at all. It's just one step you take. You say, I want to be, okay, I've been operating as a limited by guarantee. I want to be a full-fledged charity. You see, so you can then, by that time, you already have the bank account. You already have the documents that you need. And you know, to register a charity is not a problem at all.
I think the perspective, if I'm right, where it's coming from is to look at the church as when you are registered with a charity organization and you are not registered as a company's house. Now, in terms of investment ability and capabilities, there is nothing that the church being registered with the charity house, there's nothing you can invest on that you cannot do even as a company. Because that tends to be the limitation that a lot of people has. That, well, as a church, if I want to start a nursery school, can I? Yes, you can.
Yeah, you can.
If I want to start as a church, if I want to start up a company that produces printed things, yes, you can.
Yes,
and you can equally do it as a company. And you can equally do it as a charity.
Now, to specify that, let me just come into that. Now, when you're a charity, just to clarify, if you're trading, all right, now you can have a coffee machine in the church, that's another, right? But if you're trading seriously, like what, you do need a company status to trade the activity. So let's say you want to open a print media.
Yeah.
You are a charity already.
Yes.
You want to open a print media. That money or that profit is subject to tax. It's subject to tax. It's a trading income. Yes, you are a charity. That's why if you want to open a proper trading, I'm not saying like a small shop, you know, selling food or selling the pastor's books. I'm talking about if you want to do proper trading, you have to open an entity owned by the charity, but a company that is subject to corporate tax.
Okay. So registered with the company house.
Yes.
So it is
Yes.
advisable to maintain the registration with the company house, and at the same time.
Yes, and at the same time you got those sub-trading, because it's called trading income. That's not a donation. Trading income. So what is happening here now? You open a media business, you're printing flyers. You open a Omega Church Wolverhampton Media Enterprise Limited, and then that can do the media. The account for that entity is then filed and consolidated. The profits come to the church as or the charity asset. So in terms of the charity income will be the tithe offering, and then the profit after tax from the media business.
Yeah.
Those three would then add up as the charity.
Donated to the church.
To the church, yes. It becomes income, and the charity don't have any tax at all
Okay.
to pay. Another thing also is the why we.
But then why would you then donate? Wouldn't there be a question mark of why would you have to donate all the profit to the church?
So long as you pay the tax.
So long as the tax is
You pay the tax there.
No, because being a registered company, you have some liabilities.
Yeah, all will be settled.
Yes, but in terms, because the government is going to come after you to say, look, you made a profit of £43,000 last year, so we expect that you should have some capital inside.
No, it depends how you want to run the business.
Okay.
And don't you start like government will come after you, because that's what is limiting. The government don't bother with you. This is a capitalist economy. Anybody can do a trade. A charity will decide we want to do a printing empire, a printing business. Yes, so long as they make sure they subject that printing income to tax.
Okay.
They pay the tax, they pay your liabilities, and then the profit, it would be owned by the charity. So that is why when you open that kind of business, the charity trustees automatically are the directors in that company as well. And then all the profits, it's a limited by guarantee as well. And then the profits are then, so limited by guarantee do pay taxes, corporate taxes on the profit.
Yeah. The thing I would say is, as long as it's clear that the charity is the owner of the business.
Yeah.
Once you've paid your taxes, you can do whatever you like
With the money, yeah.
You can take all the money.
Yes.
What of in terms of nursery school? Nursery. Let's try to.
Yeah, you do.
You got.
Nursery fees are subject to tax.
So if you
Quite,
have a nursery, if a school has a nursery,
Yeah.
a church has a nursery school,
Yeah.
which is open to the public and the members of the church first. So which means that whatever income that comes in, is it subject to tax again?
Yes, it's subject to tax, yes. So for members, first of all, if you open the nursery, don't open it for members. It will not work. Members will choose to take their kids elsewhere. So open it for general public. As soon as you that's a children church now. That's not the nursery. When you open the nursery, even if the next door imam want to bring their children, they should come into it.
Yes.
Yeah. So it is for profit making. And then the council give grants to the parents that are bringing their children. But that money is subject to tax. But what is happening is, because when you open this thing, the good thing is not the income that is subject to tax. It's the profit. So that profit could be zero. It could be negative, because what is happening, your expenses in just running that thing in the first couple of years, will not be subject. So there will not be any tax implication for some 4, 5, 6 years. Only when it's turned around, right? So yeah.
The company house normally puts some fines for late.
Yeah. Substantial.
Is there any way, some of the reasons why they impose that fine could be due to rejections of what you submit? Is there any way you can file for refund of your?
Again, with all my experience, companies house fine for non-submission, they give you 9 months. If the year ends today, in May, All right? You've got 9 months to submit.
Yes. Even when you submit before the due date, and they have a reason to reject it and ask you to correct.
Well, I mean, it's likely you're not using the experts for that to happen. I mean, we have submission as little as £25 plus VAT with submit confirmation statement. So if you have that scenario, you should seek an accountant. That's what I would advise. Whereby if you're getting rejection, that means something is wrong, because I'm telling you, it's all changing every year. So you may think you open and do it this old way, it will go. No, they've changed it there. They've made it electronic there. They've made it only by computer to computer there. And you will be sitting at home trying to submit, and you will, before it used to be by post, we put everything, you post it. And you know, people used to use post as an excuse. Now that is no more. So long as there is a Wi-Fi in this country, you will not be pardoned. Yeah, so you have 9 months plus all the internet facility to submit on time. And also you should seek advice if the format is wrong. Yeah, no matter how. And we do that, yeah. So.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask for your two companies. If you initially opened as a company limited by guarantee and you want to go to a charitable incorporated organization, is that possible?
Yes. You can have both running. You could close one and move to the other.
Okay.
Yeah, you can have both running. Most times, people who open the limited by guarantee end up opening the charity as well. But what we would advise is you should be thinking of going to charity, not to CIO again.
Okay.
Yeah, so either you start CIO and go to charity, full charity, or you start company and then go to full charity.
Okay, you know, the full charity is the one that you have to, because there is this 17,000 figure that you have to.
No, it's still 5,000.
Still 5,000.
Yes, that you have to show. And we, you know, we opened a charity recently. Yes, it's still 5,000 plus. So I mean, this is why the CIO do not even have that 5,000 thing. So long as you have a government document, you can open it today and start with that. But the charity one is the 5,000 minimum. But then, when you are operating, you are now required to make account submission when you cross over 10,000, if I guess. 10,000.
What about the 17,000 figure?
I don't know where that comes from, unless I check.
I think it's 10,000, 25,000.
Yes, as you keep going 10,000, 25,000, you're also required to do independent examiner report.
Okay, the 25,000, that's what I want to understand. You're supposed, after 25,000, you're supposed to submit.
To submit with the independent examiner.
Okay.
Yeah, with independent examiner.
But as long as it's under that, you don't need.
Yes, you don't need, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
Yeah.
If you just go back to the gift aid again.
Yeah.
I know you did say you said we have to take notes of people who give offering and all that every week or 2 weeks. What I want to ask is at the end of each month or each year, I think the total amount that comes into the church is all can be offerings and tithes.
Mm-hmm.
So is that the same account you submit to the company house, or
You say when you come to what?
I mean, at the end of the year,
Mhm.
yeah, if you want to submit the money, your account for the gift aid, is still this? Is it the same account you?
No, you don't submit account for gifted. You submit schedule. It has you submit the schedule of givers,
Yeah,
not account.
Yeah, what about name? But what I'm trying to say is the same offering and tithe that comes to charity commission that you submit to charity.
Oh yeah.
Is it the same thing you are submitting
Yeah.
to?
No, well, what they do is there is at some specific point they will select your charity and then they ask you questions to compare the two. Not every year. They have what is called charities return. It's not every year. They only select certain specific charities where you make return and then they ask you those two questions. so that they compare it, but they don't compare it as you send it. The comparison is not made as you send it, you get your gifted, but then they do select from time to time some charities where they ask them to do what is called a charities return. When they select you to do that return, they will then compare, just take 1 year and compare what your account was saying as given. Because again, if you go submit gifted, that my church in gifted have 50,000, and then you do the charity account at the end of that year. That's why when you submit gifted, if you're January to December, you're going to be, so if you're gifted total donation 50,000, and then your charity commission filing come up with 25,000 for that year. So yes, you will not be, you will get your gifted, but then if you are selected down the line, they can easily spot that problem, and that would be a cascade of problems. Because once one problem, you see, the system based on trust. Once you violate the trust, they will then investigate everything going back on that. Yeah. Sorry.
Now, if you open come to the limited guarantee and then charity organization, so I don't know how true this is. He said when you close company limited guarantee, say your account again.
Sorry, I was a little bit distracted. You said?
So company, you open company limited guarantee, and then of course you do charity organization. When you decide now to close that down for the company limited guarantee, say now you close your account. HSB, when you come out, they also close.
All right, if you have a bank account, you just go to the bank and say we are now charitable organization, so you don't need to change bank account. The bank will change to you, will change it for you. Say, okay, you know, the bank account can remain the same, but then the name can change or the status can change. So it's a status change. Say we have now changed from company limited by guarantee to charity. So you don't have to open a new bank account.
But how do you differentiate the income and expenditure from both?
In terms of?
In terms of, this is limited liability, limited by guarantees, and this is charity. And you have different activities, and you have one single account. How do you differentiate?
Okay, the question is different then. Is it? I mean, how do you differentiate?
There are two accounts.
Yes, two activities in one single account. How do you?
If two activities, now you are running your church, and then you have a company.
Yes.
They should have different accounts. Yeah, they should have different accounts.
Maybe you're talking about one single account.
No, he's saying if your church started as a company limited by guarantee, all right, with these same church activities, now you want to be a charity. That's what I'm talking about. It's the same account that goes. The same activity of the church, but you started as limited by guarantee, and he says you now become a charity and you close the limited by guarantee. I'm saying you don't need to change the bank account. In fact, if you limited by guarantee has been running January to December and you open the charity in March, we'll still take your January to December and put it in the charity registration account. So it doesn't make any difference at all. But if you're running another activity, which I say it's a major one, obviously open a bank account.
In terms of youth within the church, okay, what are the avenues you can use, you know, from each of these sections within the church, the women group, youth group, men's group? How can you grow up fund from the public? How can you attract funds from the public?
Yeah, like the local council. Now, if you have youth, they are organizing a football tournament.
Okay.
Like recently, one of the churches was organizing a football tournament. You were there, yeah. They got grants. to help support that. So this is something the church will be doing. But obviously, when you're putting it, encourage you, take them out from crime. Make an open football tournament like that, which is not closed. You can get grants. So yes, you have to target specific community activities, and then having the youth themselves organized in a format. Now, I'm not saying go and do CIOs or company, because the more you do, the more you have to start thinking of an accountant, and you have to start thinking. But if they are growing to a point where you feel it will benefit them now, because in this case that Pastor Mike is talking about, yes, the charity itself went and secured the funds from the local council to organize a football tournament and barbecue. So your charity status can still get some funds. But if it's really, you want to go bigger with it, yes, you get to separate them. Alright, but yes, there are funds. Local council is one of the local council. Yes. The local council have funds for youth. Yeah. People are not even applying for them. Yeah. Because nobody, they also have funds for minority ethnic.
But you've got to be registered first.
No, your charity has to be registered first.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah, that's the bottom line. Your charity has to be registered first.
Yeah.
So not just the youth being registered. Yeah. Your charity come and say, we have a youth, they are organizing this. So we can share the knowledge and say, yes, just write a proper letter, that's all. Okay. Our church, our charity or our church youth wing organizing this to bring together youth in the area. In fact, when you're writing those letters, you don't say the youth in the church. The youth in the area. Yeah. So we are soliciting some donations of funds to organize this event. A simple letter like that will give you, they will say, yes, but we need to know how to write this. We need to know how to approach it. As soon as we approach it in a closed manner, or the youth in my church, that's it. All right, good. I think we can never cease, but I think it's high time I say thank you all for giving us the attention, but I hope we've been able to come this distance not for without achieving the purpose that you have in your mind. I just feel if you have any more questions, I've left my card, and Pastor Mike is my own. No, yeah, sorry if I've run out. Yeah, sorry, I do have card. Where's my bag? Who else needed? One? Yes, sorry. I know pastors don't have cards to give me, but I don't know what to say. I will go through my Pastor Mike to contact you all. If you want to give Pastor Mike your church or your email address, so we'll be sending something to you as well, yeah? So thank you all, and God bless you all. Yes. I'll just. And we can arrange, if we get all your email address, we'll send you copies of this slide, just in case you want to share with your own church management committee. Yeah, so give your email addresses to Pastor Mike, and we will send you a copy to share with your members.
All right, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yes, Mike, sorry. Mike.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, go get the stuff there.
Because Pastor Barry is going long.
No, you take it. I will go. of the way. Yeah.
There are some of our members who are still on their welcoming.
I'll show them.
You know, coming.
You better dissolve yourself before I enter. They were there by 8. I left at 7:43. By 8.